For this explainer, I will try to describe to you how a parent and a child component can communicate with each other on LWC components. Currently, there's no communication happening between them. I made it so I could write the code while explaining how it works. And the explanation gets richer when you have a visual representation of it. What I intend to do here is the following. I want to type something in the parent input field, let's say my name, and I want the child component to render it at real time. For that case specifically, we don't actually use events. We can send information to the child component via attribute. You create a public attribute on the child component and the parent component has access to it. This is the HTML of the child component. Body text is the name of the attribute that we are going to make public. And how do we do that? We just write at API, and of course don't forget to import that on the top of the file. Once we've done that, the variable becomes public, so the parent component can set it in the child tag and its HTML. Okay, so let's go to the parent component. Here in the parent component, you can see that we have the child tag here, and in the JS file, what do? We handle the change that happens on the input field here, and we update the attribute parent input text with the updated value. And just so you see where we handle that on the code is right here. Every time the input field changes, we fire the function inside the JS file, and this function sets the attribute to the updated value. So now that we have the updated value at parent level, what can we do to send this to a child component? If you remember, we made a public attribute on the child component, right? And we're going to use this attribute to send the data, the new value. Every time we have a variable that has camel case, when we turn it into a public attribute and use it to send data, we have to make a small change. We have to switch the uppercase T with a dash T. That's just LWC syntax. Once we've done that, we can bind the variable that's in the parent JS. That's the name of the variable. We just paste it here. Basically, what we're telling to the child component is, I am setting your public variable body text with the value on my variable. If we save this, it should work. There's nothing else here that we should do. If we refresh the page and if we write something, it should be rendered on the child component. That's perfect, just as expected. Now, if you want to send something to the parent component by clicking this button, nothing happens because there's no code for it, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna write code for it. So when we click the parent button, we're going to do something, and that something is to dispatch an event with a payload, a small string, just to see it working. The name of the event is going to be child event. That's the name that will be recognized by the parent component when it receives the event. Perfect. So on the child side, I think we have done everything. So let's see on the parent side. So I have to handle the event, and how do I do that? I can do just that here. This is basically a listener, and this listener will fire a function in the parent JS file, and this function will set the input field with the value that I'm sending from the child. So the name of the function, I've decided it will be handle child event, and let's complete it. It will receive an event, of course, and it will set this variable here with detail. That's perfect. And I forgot to put the function in the HTML. Perfect. Let me deploy the component. And there's one thing I forgot to do on the child is, oh no, this is perfect. If everything is done correctly, as I think it has, it should work. Whenever I click the parent button, a new string should be rendered here. Let me refresh the page. Let's see. It's working. And if we change it, you remember we have already done a code for this. Everything that I write here on the parent will be automatically sent to the child and rendered on the child. And whenever I send the event that has a detail or payload, that text that I sent will be rendered, will replace any string that is here on the parent input field. So let's do it again. Perfect. It's working just as expected.